Many years ago, before he became an unfortunate taxi driver, Madu was already an unlucky man. His misfortune didn't come by village people arrangements, but by consistent experience that refused to give him rest. From childhood, luck used to see Madu coming and quickly change direction like someone running from his debtor. See, it was so bad that if 10 boys were running and Madu was among, he would be the only one who would fall. If rain was just drizzling gently, Madu's clothes would get soaked as if the clouds followed him personally. Even his teachers used to shake their heads and say, "This boy is good, but something is always following him." Unfortunately, that something followed him into adulthood with full confidence. Madu grew up to be gentle, hardworking, but very unserious with prayer. He believed in God, yes, but he preferred God to work independently without disturbing him too much. According to Madu, as long as you minded your business, life will mind you back. Unfortunately, life did not agree with him. And then, when Madu married Njideka, popularly known as Deka, people said balance had entered his life because Deka was everything Madu was not. She prayed like a soldier, fasted like an athlete, and took spiritual matters personally like family business. She could wake up at 2 a.m. to pray for nothing and still sleep well. Meanwhile, Madu believed prayer was good but not compulsory for daily survival. Every morning before he left the house, Deka would hold his car key, raise it up like a microphone and pray aggressively. Any spirit following this man lose direction today. Madu would roll his eyes and said, "Deka, beg, Uber does not rate prayer 5 stars. She would ignore him and anoint the key anyway. Laugh now, you will thank me later. Madu never argued again because the last time he argued, his tire burst immediately outside the compound and he had to borrow money to fix it. Driving was Madu's means of survival, but even there, luck refused to cooperate with him. Sometimes, his passengers would cancel at the pickup points. Then, his fuel would finish inside traffic. Funnily, his car AC only worked when the weather was already cold. And then, if a promotion bonus was coming, the app would suddenly start to misbehave on its phone. It was so bad that other drivers called him Brother Cancellation. Yet, Madu endured. He laughed through his pain and told himself, as long as customers eventually pay, nothing concerned me. That was his slogan until the night everything changed. Madu had already had a bad day. 3 trips were cancelled back to back. One passenger insulted him for missing the turn he did not miss. Fuel price suddenly increased as if it heard his name. By 9 p.m., his body was tired, his mind was weak, and his pocket was still empty. Then Deka called him, "Please come back home. Let tomorrow worry for itself." But Madu checked his app and saw that he was just 2 trips away from meeting his targets. His eyes shone. "Let me just do small extra. I will soon come." Deka paused on the phone. "Be careful," she said. Madu laughed. "What can happen? Road is road." Unknown to him, road was not going to be road that night. As he slowly drove through a quiet estate which many people avoided at night, a ride request suddenly popped up. The pickup pin was closed, the destination was clear, and the customer rating was perfect. Perfect order. Madu hesitated small, then smiled. Finally, normal human being. He accepted it. The gate of the estate opened by itself. The security did not answer his greeting. The street lights flickered as if they were blinking at him. But Madu ignored all that and parked at the exact pickup spot to wait. Then the passenger appeared. She was beautiful, well-dressed and too composed for that lonely street. She opened the door gently and entered the back seat without a noise. Then she greeted, "Good evening." Madu replied automatically, "Good evening, madam." The car suddenly felt cold, but Madu blamed it on tiredness. And as he drove off, he did not notice that the rear view mirror had stopped reflecting properly. Meanwhile, Decca, who was at home, suddenly woke up from sleep and sat upright. Her heart was pounding fast. She whispered to herself, Madu. Madu drove out of the quiet estate with one hand on the steering and the other resting lightly on his thigh, humming lowly to a song on the radio that suddenly began to crack like firewood. Well, he ignored it because the radio had embarrassed him before and he was not in the mood to start fighting electronics. The woman behind him sat quietly. After she greeted him politely, she did not move or cough. She did not clear her throat. She did not adjust her seat and did not even press phone like a normal human being. She just sat straight and calm, like somebody attending interview in the spirit world. After driving for some minutes, Madu decided to make small conversation with her because silence in the car at night can make madness start knocking early at your door. Madam, hope you are comfortable. She replied immediately without delay. Yes. Just one word with no smile in her voice. Madu nodded and focused on the road again. But something began to feel wrong slowly. The air inside the car became cold. Not like AC cold, but cemetery cold. And Madu instinctively reached to reduce the AC, only to realize it was already off. He muttered, this weather don't suddenly change, oh. The woman did not respond. Madu tried to shake the feeling by adjusting the rearview mirror slightly, and that was when his heart missed one beat. The back seat was empty. He blinked hard and looked again, but saw nothing. No head, no shoulder, no handbag, no human reflection, no nothing. Yet, he could hear breathing, steady breathing. Madu's palm began sweating immediately and his leg shook slightly on the accelerator. But he forced himself to calm down because panic on express road is a shortcut to obituary. He laughed small and said aloud, Madu, stop imagining things. You too like horror movie. But as if answering him, the woman spoke gently from behind him. You didn't imagine anything. Madu's blood flew backwards. He swallowed saliva that suddenly tasted bitter and replied with a forced normal voice, Madam, you just talk now. She smiled from behind. You are very brave. Many drivers would have parked. Madu smiled weakly. Madam, I am not brave. I just don't like problem. He wanted to call his wife immediately, but pride held his hand down because how would he explain that he was scared of a woman sitting inside his car? He decided to focus on the road and finish the trip quickly, like someone escaping an exam hall. As they approached a junction, the woman suddenly said, Turn left here. Madu frowned. Madam, the map is saying straight. She replied calmly. The map does not know this place. Madu wanted to argue, but something inside him screamed, do not argue. So he turned left and the road changed immediately. Mysteriously, the street lights disappeared and houses became shadows. Even the road surface felt older and rougher, as if it had not been repaired since independence. Madu's heart started to beat faster. Madam, are you sure this is correct? She smiled, and although Madu could not see her face, he could feel the smile. I used this road often when I was alive, she said. The car almost stopped by itself. When you were what? Madu shouted before he could stop himself. The woman sighed softly like someone remembering something long gone. Relax, you are still breathing. Madu nearly cried. He started praying silently with words he barely remembered, mixing English, Igbo, and emergency promises. God, I beg, I will not joke with prayer again. Just carry me reach my destination. Suddenly, the woman leaned forward slightly and Madu felt her presence very close to his ear as she whispered, My friend will join us soon. Madu shouted, Which friend? She answered calmly, You'll see. And as if on cue, his phone beeped with a message that read, Stop and pick up additional passenger. Madu screamed inside his chest. He slowed down near an old bus stop where no living person ever waited at night. And from the darkness, another figure emerged. A man who was tall, casual, and who started laughing even before entering the car. The door opened. The man entered the back seat like someone entering his father's house and said cheerfully, Madu, is this how you drive? No wonder your luck is very bad. Madu almost fainted. How do you know my name? The man laughed loudly. Relax now. We know many things. The two passengers began talking to each other casually like people returning from a party. You kept him too tense, the man said. The woman replied, he needs to relax. Madu realized something terrible and funny at the same time. He was no longer just scared. He was now outnumbered. At that same moment, far away at home, Deka woke up again, fell to her knees and began praying loudly without knowing why. Any evil passenger inside that car, calm down now. And Madu's steering wheel shook slightly in response. At this point, Madu knew his life had officially crossed from normal suffering into advanced problem. His heart was beating so fast that even the steering wheel could feel it. And although he wanted to shout, run, park, faint or disappear, none of those options were available because the road ahead had become narrow, dark and stubbornly committed to whatever madness was about to unfold. The man passenger leaned forward slightly like someone ready for gist. Then he said to Madu, Oga driver, relax your shoulders. Fear they make people old before their time. Madu swallowed hard. Sir, I beg. Which kind relax be this? I don't know you people. The man laughed. Not wicked laughter, oh, not scary laughter, but annoying laughter. The kind of laughter that tells you the person enjoying himself is not the one in danger. You don't need to know us now, just drive. The quiet woman finally turned her head slightly, and even though Madu still could not see her reflection, he felt her eyes on him. Please don't panic. Panic complicates things. Madu almost shouted, complicates what? Is this thing simple? The man clapped once. I like him. He has mouths. Madu shouted, this is not mouth time, please. The man chuckled. You see, this is why I told her to let me come. She's too calm. You need someone to balance the mood with comedy. Otherwise, your heart will jump out. Madu yelled, my heart is already packing up. The car radio suddenly crackled again and changed the station by itself, landing on a station that was not playing music, but whispering prayers backward like a cassette played wrongly. Madu screamed and tried to off it, but the button refused to respond. Why is my radio misbehaving tonight? The man clicked his tongue. Your radio is spiritual sensitive. It is reacting. Madu cried, reacting to what? The man replied calmly, us. Madu's legs jerked on the accelerator. Us? As in plural? The quiet woman nodded slowly. Yes. Madu's voice cracked. Please, excuse me, oh. How many of you are inside this car exactly? The man laughed. Don't worry, we are only two for now. Madu screamed inside. For now? He tried to calm himself by focusing on logic. Okay, let's reason. You people look normal. You entered the car like human beings. You are talking. You are even joking. So maybe this is just stress. The man leaned forward and said, stress does not remove reflection now. Madu almost cried. I beg, don't remind me. The woman motioned. Madu, look at the road. Madu snapped. I am looking at the road. I have been looking at the road since I was born. Suddenly, the man stretched his hand forward and pointed casually. See that junction ahead? Madu squinted. Which one? The one with the broken signboard? The man nodded. Yes, that is where everything started. Madu frowned. Started what? The woman answered. Our end. Madu's stomach turned. Your end as in? The man replied lightly. As in we died there. The car swerved slightly. You what? The woman continued calmly like someone narrating the weather reports. Car accidents on a night like this. High speed, distraction, then silence. Madu shouted, Stop talking. The man laughed. You were the one that asked now. Madu cried, I did not ask to hear that part. The air in the car thickened again and Madu noticed something even more troubling. The road no longer looked like normal Lagos road. The markings were faded. The street lights looked old, and the trees lining the road bent inward as if they were listening for gossip. "Why does this place look wrong?" Madu whispered. The man replied, "Because you are driving through memory." Madu blinked. "Memory?" The woman nodded. "Some roads remember what happened on them." Madu swallowed. "Please, I don't want memory. I want destination." The man sighed dramatically. "Destination is complicated now." Madu shouted, "Everything is complicated." They drove in silence for a while, and Madu tried not to look at the mirror again because each time he glanced, his heart misfired like a faulty generator. His phone suddenly vibrated on the seat beside him, and he almost screamed before realizing it was just a notification. Uber message: "You are doing great. Keep driving." Madu almost threw the phone out. "This app is mocking me." The man laughed loudly. "Technology has no conscience." Madu suddenly remembered something. "Wait, oh, how do you people even order Uber? You don't have phones." The man shrugged. "We don't need a phone. We just needed a driver." Madu cried. "Why me?" The quiet woman answered him. "Because you answered." Madu's voice dropped. "Answered what?" The man replied gently this time. "The request." Madu felt cold again. "So, if I didn't accept the trip?" The man nodded. "Another driver would have." Madu almost laughed hysterically. "Ha! Thank God I am special." The man grinned. "Exactly." Suddenly, the car slowed on its own. Madu shouted, "Hey, I did not press brake, oh." The steering wheel became stiff. The woman whispered, "Something is pulling." Madu shouted, "Pulling where?" The man leaned forward seriously. "Back." Madu panicked. "Back where?" The woman replied, "To the junction." Madu screamed, "No, I am not going back there." At that exact moment, his phone rang. It was Decca calling. He nearly cried in relief and answered immediately. "Decca!" Her voice was urgent and loud. "Madu, where are you?" "I don't know again." Decca didn't waste time. "Listen to me. Do you have passengers there?" Madu looked at the empty mirror and laughed bitterly. "Yes, but not normal passengers." There was silence on the phone for half a second. Then Decca shouted, "Put me on speaker." Madu did. The man passenger chuckled. "Ah, the commander has arrived." Decca's voice filled the car. "Anything inside that car that is not human, hear me now." The temperature dropped instantly. The woman flinched while the man hissed, "Madam, easy now." Decca continued, "Madu, do not turn back. Do not stop. Drive straight." The steering wheel suddenly loosened. Madu gasped. "It's working again, oh." The man sighed. "Ah, she's strong." The woman whispered, "Njideka." Decca shouted, "Yes, I am Njideka, and you people will come down from that car now." The car shook violently. Madu screamed. The man shouted, "Oga driver, slow down." The woman muttered sadly, "We didn't want it to end like this." Madu shouted, "End what?" But before anyone could answer, the headlights flashed. The road ahead suddenly opened into bright normal traffic. Horns blared, buses passed, and everything snapped back into reality like someone waking from a nightmare. Madu stepped on the brake. The car stopped and the back seat mysteriously became empty. There was no breathing, no laughter, and no presence. Just silence. Decca spoke softly now. "Madu, are you there?" Madu broke down crying. "Yes, I am here," she whispered. "Drive home now." However, Madu did not drive home immediately after the back seat became empty because his hands were still shaking too much to trust the steering, and his legs felt like rubber that had stayed too long under the sun. Even though Lagos traffic was roaring around him as if nothing strange had happened, he sat there for several seconds, breathing like someone who just ran from kidnappers. He checked the mirror again and again as if the ghosts might suddenly decide to sit back down and say, "Sorry, we forgot our bag." but the car was normal now. The radio played a love song loudly and Madu almost screamed at it to stop because love was the least thing he wanted to hear now. He turned it off with a shaky hand and wiped sweat from his forehead. Jesus, Jesus, he muttered repeatedly like someone using password to stay alive. Deka was still on the line. She spoke calmly, the way a soldier speaks after battle. Madu, don't rush. Drive gently. Madu laughed sadly. Gently? Deka, if I drive gently, I might remember everything again and faint. She corrected him. You will not faint. You are covered. Covered? That word entered Madu's chest and sat there like reassurance with weight. He adjusted himself, put the car in drive and moved slowly into the traffic heading home. But the road did not release him that easily. As he drove, strange things began happening again, but this time more subtle and more psychological, like fear trying a new strategy. Street lights flickered only when he passed. His side mirror reflected movement that disappeared when he turned his head. Once, he heard someone cough softly from the back seat. He almost slammed the brake, only to realize it was his own throat making the dry sound. My God, he whispered. Even Echo wants to kill me. Deka spoke through the phone. Ignore everything. Don't respond to any voice. What if I hear my name? Madu asked. Especially if you hear your name, Deka replied. Madu nodded, even though she couldn't see him. As he neared the junction that led into their neighborhood, his car suddenly slowed down, not as violently as before, but enough to make his heart jump. Not again, he whispered. The dashboard lights dimmed briefly and then came back. Madu slapped the steering wheel. This car, behave yourself. Don't join this madness. And that was when he heard a knocking sound clearly. 3 gentle, slow and deliberate knocks from inside the boot, like someone knocking on a door they know belongs to them. Madu's breath hung in his throat. Deka, he whispered. I heard something. Deka did not panic. Do not stop. Madu widened his eyes the more. It sounded like a knock. Then let it knock, Deka replied. It has no authority over you. The knocking came again, this time louder, and Madu nearly cried. What if it is one of them? Maybe they followed. Deka cut him off sharply. Madu, nothing followed you. Stop giving fear a seat in your heart. Her words landed hard and the knocking stopped. Madu exhaled shakily and drove the rest of the way home without any incidents. However, when he parked in front of the house and stepped out of the car, his legs almost failed him. He had to lean on the bonnet like an old man catching his breath. Deka opened the door and rushed out. The moment she saw his face, she knew something deep had passed through him. She hugged him tightly and Madu broke into ugly tears, the kind of tears that shakes the body and clears pride. I mocked prayer, he wept. I laughed when you prayed. I thought I was strong. Deka held him tightly. You were not strong, but you have been made strong. They went inside, but that night, Madu could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the road, the junction, the tree, the shadows, and he heard the ghost-joking voice echoing. We just needed a driver. At exactly 3:17 a.m., Madu sat upright, panting. Deka! But Deka was already awake. I know, she said, something is wrong. And she was right because outside, the car alarm suddenly went off loud and sharp. Madu froze. I locked the car. They both stood at the window and looked outside. The car lights were flashing on and off by themselves. Then, the boot opened slowly but nothing came out. The boot remained open like a mouth waiting to speak. Deka did not blink. She simply placed her hand on the window and prayed. Anything that followed him from the road, you are not permitted here. The car lights flickered once, twice, and then everything stopped. The boot closed by itself. Madu sank into the chair. Deka, are they gone? She replied without hesitation. Yes, but they tried. Madu nodded slowly. He understood now. That night ride was not just bad luck. It was an attempted collection and he had escaped by inches. By morning, when the sun rose and Lagos returned to shouting and honking, Madu felt older, not in body but in awareness. He now knew something others did not know, that the road remembers, that some journeys are invitations, and that prayer is not decoration, it is an armor. He believed he had returned from somewhere people do not normally come back from. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands for a long time, opening and closing them slowly, just to be sure they still belonged to him. And when he finally stood up, his legs trembled lightly like someone learning how to walk again. Decca watched him quietly from the doorway. Her wrapper was still tied tight like a woman who had just finished night vigil and won. She did not say anything about it because some experiences explain themselves better through silence. She only placed his phone gently on the table and said, "Eat something first." Madu tried to smile. "Food will not enter." "Try," she insisted. "You survived." Survived? Now, that word carried weight. Later that day, after sunlight had fully chased the night out of the streets, Madu forced himself to return to the car. Not because he wanted to drive, but because he needed to face it, and because fear grows bolder when you keep avoiding it. He walked around the car slowly like someone inspecting an accident vehicle, checking the doors, the boots, the mirrors, and even the back seats, touching everything gently as if the car itself might still be in shock. Everything looked normal. He cleaned the car thoroughly that morning, vacuuming the seats, wiping mirrors, opening the doors wide, and when he finished, he stood quietly, placed his hand on the car and whispered, "Thank you for not killing me." Decca watched from the veranda and nodded. That afternoon, news began spreading in the neighborhood. Someone shared a link in the driver's WhatsApp group about an old accident scene near the quiet estate Madu had passed through the night before, about two friends who died weeks ago in a late-night crash, and residents complaining that drivers still reported picking up passengers there who vanished mid-trip. Madu did not click the link. He did not need any confirmation. He already knew their voices. He already knew the jokes and he already knew the road. However, from that day, Madu changed. He no longer went on late-night rides past certain areas. He stopped doing his usual extra one trip when tired, and most importantly, he stopped laughing when Decca prayed. In fact, he started reminding her himself, "Decca, you haven't prayed today." She would look at him and smile. Madu still drove Uber, but now he drove with awareness, greeting God before the ignition, checking mirrors with intention, and refusing any trip that made his chest tighten without reason. His fellow drivers laughed at him when he warned them. "Madu don't turn pastor," one of them joked. Madu just smiled and replied, "Pastor who is still alive is better than the driver that disappeared." At night sometimes, when the house was quiet and the generator had gone off, Madu would suddenly wake from sleep with his heart pounding and hearing low laughter that faded quickly. He would turn to Decca, who always seemed awake already, and whisper, "Did you hear that?" Decca would shake her head and say, "No," but she would reach out and hold his hand anyway to give him support. Months later, Madu drove past the main road near that junction in broad daylight. When the traffic was heavy, the sun was hot, everything was loud and normal. But for 1 second, just one, he thought he saw a familiar figure standing by the roadside, smiling with his hands in his pockets, like someone amused that the story had ended this way. Madu did not slow down. He did not even look back. He just zoomed off and muttered, "I am not your driver." That was how Madu learned that not every ride is ordinary and not every prayer is a waste of time. Some prayers are emergency exits. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. Give the story a thumbs up and share the story out with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye.